really working out how muscles would work and how tendons would work and how all this stuff would come together to make something look realistic. And we could kind of get the models there. The rigging just didn't happen. And when you try and procedurally animate something that people have expectations of, I mean, people know what a pony looks like. When you try and animate, at one stage in our creature modeling app, you could model a pony that looked a lot like a pony, and then it would walk, and it would walk in a crazy alien way.
It was kind of scary. It really was disturbing.
And so we pulled back from that and said, okay, we're going to have to make this problem our friend. And the way that we're going to do that is by making the parts deliberately kind of simplified, cartoonish, friendly, and abstracted. And so here are a bunch of shots from various creatures that people have made in our editors.
I think the other thing that making the parts, the way in the aesthetic that we've gone down in this path, I think it allows for a lot of different aesthetics on the player's part, where we've got some simple enough shapes and some basic enough shapes that if a player wanted to go cartoony, or they've made very scary or very
so we want to maintain
creatures.
Aesthetic breadth and still keep it kind of in our consistent aesthetic universe. So that drove a lot of the style here. Yeah. One of the things that's cool that's being pointed out here, maybe a little bit secretly, is not only can we make these creatures and do all the stuff that we're talking about, but we can also export them into Maya, like fully rigged with textures and stuff like that, and play animations. So a lot of our artists are using the creature editor as a substitute for Maya. You build a bunch of stuff in the creature editor and bring it into Maya, and then you've got like a fully rigged character you can do your little animations with. So let's fly through the rest of these creatures.
One of the kind of central things that came up, I think, early on in the project is kind of the problem that we call Ocean versus the player. Ocean being the art director, wanting this game to look great, but yet the players are the ones that are designing the final art for it. Right. So how does Ocean basically kind of...
Yeah, I mean, I don't mean to be too waspish about it, but you kind of have this sense of art directing a million incompetence. And none of these people have gone to art school, or very few of them have gone to art school. They don't have a good sense of what makes a good character. And so you have to put in all these techniques and tools so that when they do something, it looks good. I mean, the obvious things, you put in ambient occlusion, you put in smoothing to try and blend the parts together.
It's almost like, what we want to do is we're trying to reverse engineer the artists and then put them into the program.
So I had this initial notion of artist in a box, where you take the sensibility, the skills of an artist and try and abstract them, figure out what the component parts and decisions that an artist would make are, turn them into algorithms, and then overlay them on top of the stuff the player would do, so that the stuff that they do would be at least, I mean, if not as good as the current state of the art of characters that we're seeing in games, at least not embarrassing. So switching now from the modeling component to the texturing component, that was a big part as well, because once you've got this surface that you've created, a metaball surface with parts sewn onto it, you've got to chart the whole thing, and then you've got to figure out how to texture it. And good texture artists are hard to find. I mean, it's a skill set or an art in and of itself, and we've got a couple good texture artists on the project. But we have to do this to a creature that the player has just made, and we have to do it in, 500 milliseconds, something like that. So again, we have our concept artist give us a bunch of ideas for different types of skins that creatures might want to have, but then we had to